Hi, I'm Steve Rosales, and welcome to this edition of Belmont Journal. On Tuesday, April 4th, the town will be asked to approve a debt exclusion for the building of a new municipal skating and athletic facility here in Belmont. We're here today to talk about the Rink. With me today is Mark Haley. He's the chairman of the Belmont Municipal Skating Rink Facility Building Committee. I think I got that right. To his left is Brandon Fitz, the recreation director here for the town of Belmont. And then the man behind all the drawings we're about to see, Ted Galante, owner and brains behind the Galante Architect Studio in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Is that right?
That's right.
Gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, it's now March 6th, 2023, election day about a month away. We had an unsuccessful vote on an unsuccessful design in November, about 6 months ago. So, Mark, here's a loaded question. What's changed?
So what we learned from previous work is that we needed to take everything out that was not necessary. So what is in the rink today is just bare bones. It's vanilla. And we took out things that we thought were nice to have, but we didn't necessarily need them for a rink or an athletic facility going forward. We also took out anything to do with the fields, the parking. The White Field House is not in this committee's charge any longer. It only includes the rink and the athletic facility. It does include 4 locker rooms that are dedicated to the high school teams, not hockey teams alone. Hockey, football, track, lacrosse, whatever the AD at the high school wants to use those 4 rooms for. Those will be dedicated to the high school.
Okay, so, and of course I would think the price has not gone up, I'm assuming.
The price has gone down by about $4 million.
Hey, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. So that's a good faith effort. So we're going to have a functional, workable rink, locker room, athletic facility. Maybe not as many bells and whistles, but it's a new financial environment.
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's see what it looks like. We have Ted Galante, the architect and mastermind behind this building. So he has a presentation. Make my job easy today.
So the building, as we know, has been around for quite some time. The Skip Figueroa rink has been around for a while. It was functional in its day, but has been aging for quite some time. The building is failing. There are significant code violations. There are deficiencies. In fact, it's only really able to be used 4 months out of the year. The new facility would be able to be used 12 months out of the year. So there's a significant difference from just a quarter of a year to the full year. The town of Belmont is getting a significant complex, really, an athletic complex in a way that would last for much longer. There are reports dating back to 1999 that talk about deficiencies in the building, the rink condition. They've talked about bird infestations and many other things well back 23, 24 years ago. The building has met its useful life. In fact, there are many elements that need repair immediately. Otherwise, there cannot be ice next year. So the building is currently at risk with many of these things. In fact, if nothing is done, there's significant year-over-year spending that will have to happen just to keep the rink open, and it still would not be getting any better. So while Mark and others say that the building is vanilla, it is stripped down to its bare essentials. We like to think that it's a little bit more, some chocolate and strawberry and all sorts of other things in there. So the way we propose this is that there's an existing facility, and we're going to try and take the facility down quickly and put up a new facility quickly so that there's really only 1 season of ice lost, which is part of an important part of the schedule. The building would go in its current location and have photovoltaic panels covering the roof. We have a few different ways that we're looking at the photovoltaic panels, covering only the sloped portion of the roof or the sloped and the flat portion of the roof. Again, the building is roughly 29,000 square feet, operating 4 months out of the year. The proposed building is about 40,000 square feet, down from about 45,000 square feet, thereby reducing the cost significantly to under $30 million. But it's a 12-month-a-year facility, not only a 4-month-a-year facility. In that 12-month-a-year facility, it's a climate-controlled, it's energy efficient. Currently, there's no insulation on the building at all, and it is fundamentally like being outside. It's very energy inefficient currently. We would have dressing rooms, there'd be a lobby and a public restrooms, concession stand, as well as rooms for the high school sports as talked about. So it's a skating rink, but it's much more than a skating rink. It's really a facility for the entire community. In fact, we have renderings that show the building in its position adjacent to the fields, but we're proposing the possibility of pickleball and tennis and futsal. And Brendan will talk to many of those what's possible. But there's Pilates and yoga and volleyball, all sorts of possibilities. We're not really modifying parking or changing things on Concord Ave, but we are trying to establish a zone for a bus drive-in, a place for the buses to drop off. There would be many summer sports, many sports throughout the entire season. There's an outdoor area out in the front that can be covered and outside of the weather. Cricket, roller hockey is a possibility. There are many possibilities. There are locker rooms that will be usable for all facilities, all sports throughout the seasons. Some of the locker rooms, the dressing rooms prior were individuals. Well, now we've made them accordion divided, so there's some flexibility built into the program, Steve. That was one of the things, another one of the things that changed. There's the possibility for renting ice for ice skating. There's a possibility for, what's that game called?
Curling.
Curling. There's a possibility for curling, in fact.
I need to do some curling. I don't know if I'd pass out from sweeping, but I certainly could roll it down there.
But recreational ice programs, learning to skate, all sorts of things. An important part of the facility that doesn't exist now is a lobby, concession area, and public restrooms. In this is a small lobby, so one can walk into the facility, buy a cup of hot chocolate, go back to the football game, watch the football game. They can come into the facility, use the restroom from the football game, and go back to the football game. It's really, one can stand inside and watch the soccer game on the adjacent field, but when it's rainy, windy, cold, in the fall or spring when outdoor games are being played, people can stay inside and stay warm while the players are outside having their activity. There, again, public restrooms, reception, all closely knit with the entrance, but also able to see. And one doesn't have to open the entire facility for that. Just the lobby area can be opened, and the rest of the facility remains closed. It was designed specifically to serve really as a hub for all of the sports fields that are nearby. I mentioned photovoltaic panels. There's right now on the design, there's a preliminary system sized for the sloped roof. The public had a question about, can we cover the entire roof? We're looking into that, and there's a design to cover the entire roof, including the flat roof. And we also have preliminary costs that we're working on within the overall project budget. So the facility has been modified significantly. We have the construction costs with the solar panels and the general contractor's fees and all the escalations to the midpoint of construction and the contingencies and such. The building comes out to roughly $26 million worth of construction. On top of that, there's design fees, legal fees, project-related costs, insurance from the town, testing services, et cetera, and we end up about $29,950,000. So the building is it is a complex facility with a lot of opportunity for the town, and really becomes an amenity that can be used by many of the sports or many of the activities that are planned for 12 months a year.
Before you finish up, Ted, I think the town needs to understand that this rink, when it was built in 1969, 1970, was an open facility. It had a roof, but it only had chain link sides. It was always built as an open rink to be used only 3 to 4 months a year. This is a different rink that we're talking about today because we wanted to use it as a rink, but also as an athletic facility for Harris Field. And when you talk about bathrooms and toilets, they don't exist for Harris Field. Here we have a football field that's done for soccer and all these other high school sports, and also youth sports, and there's nowhere that you have a public facility. So that will be added in. These are some of the things that I think the town needs to understand, that this is an upgrade from what we have today. And then I'll turn it over to Brendan, and he'll talk about some of the facilities and some of the activities that you envision.
Absolutely. So again, thank you for having us here. This is so exciting. I'm excited to talk about the rink. I've been here for 2 years, almost 3 years now in Belmont, and have been operating the rink in a variety of ways, and it's exciting to see all the new possibilities that could come. So from a recreation perspective, space remains the #1 challenge for us at the recreation department. We have great partners with the Council on Aging, with the school department. We rent out facilities from them and work closely with them, and they're great partners. But space remains the #1 issue that we face. So we have our spring and summer program brochure coming out at the time of this recording very soon, and you'll see we have a robust menu of programs. At the moment, we're using those programs, or running them all over the town and everything, which has been great. But certainly, getting to the non-ice uses, we've talked a lot about what can be done with the ice and different programs that we have there, which we'll get to in a second. But there's going to be a season of time where there's not ice at this rink. And in that off season, if you will, is potentially something that we could consider using that for. The Recreation Commission we work well with the Recreation Commission, so to speak, to establish programming and different things that might interest people here in the town. And so some of those things that could go at the rink would be programs like our archery program, pickleball, which is ever expanding and growing. We run dog programs. We run various concerts and events and movie nights and those types of things, so larger scale events. In the summertime, our summer camps could possibly go there. Right now, we use the school buildings in the summer, but we're always on the hunt for new space. We're growing and expanding, so summer camps could potentially use that. We could put a variety of adult sports programs in there. Ted mentioned futsal. We have a huge futsal indoor soccer program. Adult volleyball is ever growing and expanding. We have Zumba programs, dance programs, and yoga, and a bunch more possibilities. Also, with the expansion of the locker rooms turning into classrooms, we have a great CPR first aid program. We're partnering with the fire department to offer those classes, so that would give us some increased area to do those programmings as well. As far as programming during season, when the ice is available, we'd love to increase public skating hours for everybody. And so having those extra times available for residents would be a great benefit for everyone. We have one of the largest women's hockey programs, recreational women's hockey programs in the area. I think it's a really cool point of pride that our community is becoming sort of a hub for women's hockey, and we have some really great people in town making that happen. So.
Were you the founder? Were you the first women's hockey coach?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
How many years were you
Public schools. 20 years.
20 years as the women's hockey coach. That's some nice history. See, there you go.
There's a little bit of history for you. Absolutely. No, and it's great. We just finished a bunch of new women's hockey programs this year, and it's just bursting at the seams, so that's great. I actually am a CTRS, which is a Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialist. So bringing in adaptive programs is near and dear to our hearts. So things like sled hockey, learn to skating for children with all abilities, different levels. And as we mentioned before, curling, because who doesn't love curling? Sounds like a lot of fun.
My wife will watch curling. It could be on at 2 o'clock in the morning on some obscure cable channel, but she'll watch Finland versus Slovakia.
There we go.
And she will watch it, enraptured.
We'll expect to see you there then.
Belmont Watertown curling.
It's a whole new thing.
Yeah,
I don't
so.
know, but
But anyways, I think the point is that obviously nothing's set in stone yet. These are all potential and possibilities, and certainly with however everything goes, we'll be there to meet needs and serve residents.
well, if people start drooling over some of this stuff, they need to vote yes to build the facility. Then you can have it, because none of this stuff is offered anyplace else, really on a large scale.
Sure. Yeah, and like I said, space is our #1 issue. So we do things at the Beach Street Center and the schools, but certainly having a central location would be a benefit.
Okay, so, well, I'll ask the architect here, or either one of you. So the original rink 1969. I don't think I was 13 or 14 when it got built. The Bobby Orr era rink, and it was an
There you go.
outdoor rink. We used to go down to Route 2, which was really just
The MDC rink.
MDC rink. Out there was no, when it rained, it rained. That was it. But I had a thing, and there was some tennis and that. That was basically it. But the flooring, the surface. So, will the boards remain for all this, or is the surface now not what it is now, sand or something? It's going to be something that's hard?
About 15 years ago, they repiped the bed for icing. And they put in a sand floor as opposed to the concrete floor that was there before when you probably used the rink and could play tennis on it.
Yeah.
So once that sand floor went in, there was really no other activities you could do in that rink without damaging the pipes. So essentially all other activities ended. The new rink will have a concrete floor. So we will be back to be able to use it. The question is, and this gets back to the recreation, do the boards come down or do they not come down? To play tennis, you can do one tennis court within the current, with the boards and the glass. But if we wanted to go back to 3 or 4 tennis courts, we would have to go and take the boards down, and you'd have to take the new seating down also. So the seating would have to be portable.
Okay, because there is seating. I don't know, when Ted was going through, he whipped through. You got through that presentation quicker than I gave you credit for.
Faster than, that's right.
So maybe you go back, if you could find some.
Sure.
Some of those renderings, and then maybe sort of take us through a little bit, because we have some time still.
Sure.
To show some of the exciting things, because I saw some schemes, or at least some diagrams to show what could fit potentially in there.
So we've been doing a lot of study about what fits and what doesn't fit, and within the ice surface, we can fit, as Mark said, really one tennis court, a few pickleball courts, a number of other things. It is 85 by 200 feet, so it's not a small area, right? When the ice is gone and that's used for other activities, for example, if it were for dog training, it's a perfect environment to enclose the dogs within the boards and be able to train within there and not have them running amok and running stray. But if we took the boards down and store them somewhere, the space opens up quite a bit. So there's a lot to work with. There's a lot of room to work with, and a lot of flexibility around that. It comes down to, the rec department having the labor to move the boards, take them out, and put them back in when the ice needs to be there. There's room to store those boards inside. There's also room outside. There's a little over 200 seats that are along the wall of the rink, and those are pretty much planned for fixed seating. If we wanted to make them movable seating, we can consider that and talk about that as a possibility. But the rink is really, ultimately it's about 220 feet by about 115 feet in the other direction without the boards. And so it really can open up to house 3 tennis courts, 4 tennis courts, if the labor is there to take the boards down and put them back up.
That's a big area. It's like 70 yards. There's a reason I'm not an accountant, but 220 feet.
Yeah, it's
like 70 yards.
Yeah, there's a
That's
lot
a
of
lot of
room.
space.
There's a lot of room. A lot of activities can happen in there. There can be temporary partitions put if the boards stay up. Portion off. One area is for summer crafts, and the other areas for summer sports. Right. It really depends on the creativity of the people who are developing the programs, and Brendan is in that arena, and many different things can happen simultaneously. There's access to the ice in different locations, into what area that would be the ice in different locations, and activities can happen there, or the boards can come down and people can get in and out of the building on peripheral doors and such as well. So there's plenty of height, there's plenty of width, there's plenty of length, and really it is a wide open functional facility where any number of activities can happen in any number of at any time.
Okay. And I'd like to go back, Ted, to what you talked about, is that 4 dressing rooms, we're making them so that they can be used individually as dressing rooms, or we can combine them. So that in fact, if a visiting team comes to Harris Field to play, they now have a dressing room. They do not have one today. We will be able to use those dressing rooms for fall sports and spring sports, for the high school program or youth sports. Yep. That's different than what we have today.
And I suppose if there's a boys' team and a girls' team that come together from another town, we have a basketball. That's obviously there,
but you have four rooms. You make 2.
That's what I'm saying.
Become girls.
You'd have, because
exactly.
there's always been a space problem.
Correct.
At least, you know, the old high school before the new high school, the old new high school, you know, they would have to dress in a classroom.
Correct.
Some of the girls' sports.
And
Having
part of
three daughters, I was particularly, you know, intrigued about that. But
Part of the planning also includes, you know, we're keeping the building as one long rectangle, right? Because construction costs, construction efficiency, construction costs are getting higher and higher monthly, right? So if we can build the building under one roof, one large rectangle, we can organize the building and keep it really cost effective. But there's also the possibility of future expansion. We've planned it so that toward Harris Field, behind the bleacher set currently, we can add another 25, the town at some point can add another 25 by 100 foot long expansion into that. So another 2,500 square feet could be added to this rink in future if it were so desired for that to happen. That could, you know, based on town need at that time, it can be augmented in any possible way, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now.
I heard you talk about photovoltaic cells,
Yep.
solar panels,
Yep.
and efficiency,
Yep.
and heating efficiency. So it costs some money to run the building, but the building is not going to be revenue neutral. We can make money with the building, you think?
We should be able to make money with the building.
Okay, how do we
And
do
it gets
that?
down to the recreation department or whoever is running the rink, whether it's the recreation department or some other department within the town. We need to rent the ice more than we do today.
So there's
we
opportunity
need-
for rental. Who would be renting the ice?
You have other towns would love to rent the ice, towns that do not have rinks. There are a number of places now, when I talk to the people in Watertown, they rent to these skating schools that have hockey programs now. Instead of the youth program we have in the town, they run them through USA Hockey. And they are a big contributor now to renting ice. And the ice is hard to come by.
Very hard.
You know, I went yesterday, my wife and I went yesterday to the boys varsity hockey tournament game against Severian yesterday. It was at the Canton Ice House, which is a huge facility, much bigger than we're doing here. But to your point, on the wall, apparently that Curry College, that's their home rink. Severian was the home team, that's their home rink. I saw Westwood High School insignia up there, it's their home rink, and a smattering of other different panels or banners from other skating groups that use that rink. So it's not just so we have that, and you know, and that's, of course, the town would have free ice.
The town's programs will be able to have free ice, but the hours that it's not used by the town, you'd want to rent it. And that there's a balance there of how much do you rent and how much you use for free ice. And that's
Okay,
whoever
that's fair.
manages this rink, that's going to be their challenge.
Obviously, we don't know the numbers on the way in or the way out yet, quite frankly, once the thing is built. But is there a potential of revenue neutrality? This thing pay for itself?
The rink today is almost equal now, based on the numbers you gave me.
Close.
It's
yes.
very, very close today with a rink that we don't rent very often. Here we have a rink that the energy costs will be significantly less than you have today. I think the electric cost in the rink today is like $50,000, $52,000 to be exact. With the photovoltaics, that number will go way down. Plus the mechanical systems are going to be state-of-the-art as opposed to what we have today. So the cost to operate the rink should go significantly down. So now the rentals should easily offset the cost.
Okay. So we talk a lot about hockey because we've just finished hockey season. It was a great season. Girls had a good season, boys had a good season. But now we move to the spring. Ice is coming down. So with that, but while the ice is up, it's not just hockey, is it? There are recreational programs, and I'm hearing something too about skate rentals. So that someone like me who I've skated, but I don't have skates, that I'd love to go down and, like I go to a roller rink potentially, or you go to a bowling alley, or you rent a pair of shoes, pair of skates. That's sort of on the drawing board.
It's certainly on the drawing board, and we have an area that is dedicated to skate rentals. And so one could walk in, assuming it functions this way from your guys' side. The planning is that one walks in, there's a desk, they can rent skates, they can take the skates and head out on the ice for an hour, 2 hours, whatever the skate is, just like you can do it at in the North End or any other rink around here. You can rent skates and skate. So there's plenty of opportunities here. I think the other piece that I want to just touch on is that we talked about what the rink needs currently. The current rink is, just from an environmental perspective, the current rink is inadequate in the sense that not only is it energy inefficient, it's a metal building that fundamentally is open to the outside. This rink will have photovoltaic solar panels that produce electricity, but the building will be insulated. It'll be super insulated because of the energy code that's required to make this an insulated building. And so the level of energy efficiency will be very, very high in this building. On top of that, the refrigerant that's currently used is R22 refrigerant, which is no longer environmentally sound.
Bad
It's
refrigerant.
bad news. So we want to get all of that out of Belmont and put a facility here that is really reflecting the core values of this town, right? Energy efficiency, becoming a green community, making this a place that is much more effective and not really visually an eyesore and energy-wise an eyesore. From Concord Ave to the building and into the building, it's really visually not very appealing. The road getting there is all bumpy and asphalt and mud, and there's an old storage facility and a dumpster. The white field house is in fairly tough shape and needs to come down. Once this is done and all of that area is cleaned up, we really have a sort of community green space right on the front, from the front of Belmont to the skating rink, all the way out to Concord Ave. So you have the beautiful new high school, the development along there, all cleaned up. Harris Field is right there, and this becomes really an amenity for the public walking along or driving along until you get up to, then you've got the fields and we've got the gas station, and the town should buy the gas station at some point to take that down. But I think that it develops Concord Ave in a way that is much more reflective of what Belmont seems to represent than what's there now.
So Mark, last question. What if we don't pass the rink? What happens?
It's either a new rink or no rink. So if the vote does not pass, there will be no rink. The selectmen have already voted that they will not put money into a failing rink, and that's what it is.
This was a lot of
it's
money.
broken.
Couple $100,000.
Couple $100,000 to
that.
the big number is what Ted just mentioned, is to get the hazardous materials out. That's almost $80,000 of the $200,000 to get that out. It needs a new condenser on the roof of the facility, and it needs the compressors rebuilt. Those three items alone total about $200,000.
All right, and then we'd have to go out for rink, go out for ice. We'd be one of those towns, making another town rich.
Correct, and just, that, the superintendent of schools was asked what would that cost, and they came up with a number, and it's about $120,000 to support the 4 high school teams only.
Just the hockey rink, just the
Just
hockey
the
teams.
hockey teams at the high school would be about $120,000.
Well, it looks like we're out of time, gentlemen. It's been a scintillating half hour, much appreciated. So, a couple of announcements. There are tours of the rink this Saturday, March 11, 10:30 in the morning, March 11, 10:30, that's Saturday, or Sunday. If you missed that, March 12th, 9:30 in the morning, come on down. They'll give you a tour of the rink. There's a public forum scheduled for this Thursday, March 9th, 7 p.m. down the Homer Building. For more information, or if you want to see more of the detailed slides in the presentation that Ted put out here today, it's on the town website, belmont-ma.gov. Click around in there for the Skating Rink Building Committee. It's in there under committees. All the materials are there for you to see. So there you have it. Whatever your decision, vote, vote, vote. Tuesday, April 4th, question 1, whatever it is, exert your freedom and right to vote. That's it for this week here on Belmont Journal. Until next time, I'm Steve Rosales. Take care.